Buckeyes! Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Another Buckeye broadcast with Emmet Brady. We are in week 4 of the 2017 season, feeling good after last week's big win against Army. If this is your first time tuning into the Buckeye broadcast, each week we take a deep dive into the players, the positions, the predictions, and we talk about a different health, fitness, and performance topic through the lens of the DAYMA performance system created by yours truly. And we are looking at the Buckeye season under a new light after the tough loss against Oklahoma and the bounce back against Army. Now what happens is we get one game to sort of tweak things up. It's against UNLV today. Nobody's too concerned about the game, even though, in college football anything can happen. Just remind our Michigan friends about Appalachian State. But if you're not familiar with DAYMA, DAYMA is an acronym for Dance, Athletics, Yoga, and Motion Arts. And on each week on the podcast, we take a deep dive into Ohio State football and the state of all things Ohio, and we use some time to talk about health and fitness. We want to create the healthiest football fans in the land, so that's how we do it. Last week against Army, against the triple option, much respect to the men, the enlisted men, but we also wanted to make sure that actually, if they're in the Army Academy, they are not enlisted men, right? They're going in for officer training. But much respect to the team. They showed up. They brought a great game. It just was too much to try and contend with the Big Ten offense. That's just kind of how it goes sometimes. And overall, the Buckeyes on offense look great. We had another big game by J.K. Dobbins. He's a superstar freshman. I am in the court, however, where we got to mix it up between Dobbins and Weber. Dobbins had 172 yards and a beautiful touchdown run, longest touchdown run of his college career so far. He's just a freshman, so that looked awesome. And of course, J.T. Barrett came out quickly. That was part of my prediction as well. Came out, had 270 yards passing, good efficiency, and he broke a record, a long-standing record. Don't know if it'll ever be broken again. Purdue quarterback great Drew Brees, now in the NFL, and J.T. Barrett broke his record for career touchdowns, 107. That's pretty impressive for a young man, and of course, the triple option offense for Army got stymied by the Bucs' big defense. They had one really nice-looking drive early in the game. I knew that could probably happen because it's a tough look to get adjusted to. But Greg Schiano, on the defensive coordinator for the Bucs, made big changes, and they actually tried passing against the Buckeyes. That was pretty surprising coming from Army. But overall, it was a pretty clear run, a pretty clear line against the run. So it's Army went into the game, I believe, number 2 or 3 in the nation in offense, just because they'd played some teams that couldn't stop the triple option. But they tried some new things against the Buckeyes, got a little bit desperate, and then by the third quarter, the game was firmly in the grasp of the Bucs. And just so you know, if you listen to this podcast, I do make predictions on scores. I don't gamble, I don't bet. I just like to do it for fun and think about the games deeply. I guess the score was going to be 41-7 Bucs. It wound up being 38-7, so I was really close. However, they could have kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter. With under 2 minutes, they were inside the 30-yard line. They just did not do it. So class move by Urban Meyer not to do that. So, and then today we are looking ahead to the UNLV, the Runnin' Rebs, a team that has been in the national spotlight a little bit over the past 10 years. They're Mountain West Conference, I believe, so they're not too much trouble for the Big Ten, just because the Big Ten is the Army, is the football machine, of course, in the country. And UNLV is coming off a tough loss last week. Big headlines. They broke a record in the NCAA for, now this is a point spread thing. They were picked to win by 45, and they actually lost 44-40 to a team that is totally unranked, starting a complete freshman, a real true freshman, and was 2-9 last year. Plus, they have a head coach. They lost to Howard University, so yikes. But Urban Meyer took a look at the Run Rebs. They do have some players to keep an eye on. They got a quarterback, a running back, and a receiver that people seem to be saying are the definitely the big three to keep an eye out for on Buckeyes. Their quarterback is Armani Rogers. He's a redshirt freshman. He has passed for almost 500 yards so far and run for 168 yards, putting up some big numbers against teams, except of course the ones that the problem is their defense. They gave up 44 points to Howard. How can you do that? How is that possible? They have two inside tackles on defense that Urban Meyer said they should keep an eye on. Two guys, Mike Hughes and Jason Fowl. FAO is his name. So they might slow down the Buckeyes' run run offense a little bit. But let's face it, when it comes down to the passing game, JT Barrett's gotten a little bit better flow. I think the offense is making better decisions. They're spreading the field, taking the ball downfield, going horizontal, which everybody wants them to do, and it's absolutely necessary against the big contending teams because that opens up where JT Barrett specializes, and that is in the 5 to 10 yard passes, and also his read option because he can take off and scramble. So if you get the safeties and the linebackers downfield a little bit more, you can do better against a team like that. Now, the DAYMA fitness topic is really interesting today. We're talking about the knee, and the knee is it's probably the most damaged joint in sports. By the way, I looked at some statistics, pretty interesting statistics. Pretty easy to hurt the knee in any way, but football, it turns out in over a 10-year study that they conducted through, I believe it was Princeton University, at injuries to high school athletes. Football was not the most common, most injured sport. It was actually basketball. But the knee injury was the most common injury in football. And apparently, it's much easier to damage the medial part of the knee, the inside part of your knee, than anything else. The anterior cruciate ligaments are very susceptible. There's a lot of patella damage that happens, sprains, twists. The knee, it's unique in the body. It's actually the largest hinge joint in the body. It's a double hinge joint. So there's actually more ways you can screw it up. And evolutionarily, it was one of the last advances in the human physique when we stood up and our hip bones rotated in underneath our body, and the knee sort of twisted. It has this interesting torque to it. Now, it allows us to do a lot of amazing things, and people love to run and jump and pounce and sprint with their legs, but it causes a lot of damage. So we're going to do something interesting today as well. For the first time ever, I'm going to do a live web stream at the halftime, a live stream through Facebook, and we're going to do a DAYMA stretch. And DAYMA is a fitness system that I created, and the foundation of it is called DAYMA Stretch. It's a 5 to 10 minute stretch routine that you can do anytime by anybody, anywhere. It's really effective, and we will talk. I'll show you some techniques on how to stretch the knees and how to strengthen the knees just a little bit as well, because that's always a part about it. When you have a hinge joint, you want to support and strengthen the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, and especially the fascia that supports the knee. So we'll cover that at halftime, and we'll talk a little bit more about the game and do a little deep dive. I know some people like to hear all the highlights and the scores, and some people like to just tune out because of all the ridiculous commercials at halftime. Well, guess what? You can tune online on Facebook. I'll include the link here with the podcast, and it's going to be pretty exciting that way as well. So, and let me just talk one more thing about injuring your knee. One of the most interesting things is that people, besides acute injuries where you blow out your knee or you tear a ligament clearly, a lot of people have chronic knee issues in our culture. The number one reason, of course, is, you guessed it, obesity. So this is another reason why I do this podcast, to make the healthiest football fans in the land. We want to make sure that people are having a good time. No problem. I like to let it rip too. As a matter of fact, that's kind of how I live my life. But for you to understand your body and for you to understand how things affect you, the food you eat, the things you drink, the things you put on your skin, the kind of rest you get, if it makes you feel good before, during, and after, it's probably good for you, right? So if you're going to have a few beers, no problem. You want to have a piece of pizza, you want to have a good game day kind of tailgate thing, that's fine. But if you find yourself over and over again running into problems with what you do to get ready to enjoy a Buckeyes game, then perhaps it's time to take a look at So looking ahead for today's game, hope you tune in for the Facebook live stream for the stretch at halftime. And the Buckeyes are ranked number 10 now. They're still in the top 10. They didn't perform too great over the past couple weeks, so they went from number 2 to number 10. But the season is by no means lost because if you look at the top 10, there's a whole bunch of Big Ten teams up ahead of the Bucks, and the Bucks will be playing them. The big ones, of course, are Penn State and Michigan. And Wisconsin's going to be a good game as well, but I believe that if the Bucks can beat Penn State, then they could have another shot at the national title. And boy, that's going to be a game to watch. So, but today's game against UNLV, oh boy, there's just a number of points to count, really, and I think the Buckeyes can open it up. I don't think the Running Rebels are going to score at all. And I mean, really, I think we might be looking at a total shutout here today. And when I was thinking through the numbers, I was looking at the prognostications, and the number that came to mind, I think we're going to go 53 to 1 score. It's going to be either a field goal or maybe one touchdown if the Running Rebels play out of their minds or the Bucks make a mistake. They turn the ball over, and the Running Rebels get the ball in a pretty good location, then perhaps they could put a little bit more time and more points on the board. But I think the final score, in the worst case scenario, is going to be 53 to 7. Okay, I'll hedge the bet and say maybe the Rebs will score twice because they can put some offense up on the board. So 53 to 10, but that's about it. I'm going to stick with 53 to 7. So there's the game. There's the score, the game day score prediction. And remember, every day is a good day to be a fan of the Scarlet and Gray. And to all the Buckeyes fans across the land, go Buckeyes! We'll talk to you soon.